Captain John Harris stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station. His eyes were fixed on the approaching alien ship. The massive vessel moved with grace despite its size. It was 5 times larger than anything humans had ever built. "Captain, the Galaxian diplomatic vessel will dock in 15 minutes, said the station's eye. John nodded. After years of watching the stars and wondering if humans were alone, they finally had their answer. Not only were aliens real, but they wanted Earth to join something called the Galactic Confederation. "Is the welcome team ready?" John asked. "Yes, sir. General Adams and the diplomatic corps are assembled in the main docking bay." John straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. As head of station security, he would be present but not directly involved in the talks. That was fine with him. He preferred watching and learning. The Galaxian ship connected to the station with a soft thud. John felt a slight vibration under his feet. The aliens had arrived. Ambassador Zex Tora was taller than any human, with bluish skin that seemed to shimmer under the station lights. 4 arms emerged from a slender torso, and his face featured large eyes and moving parts around the mouth that John learned were called mandibles. "We welcome you to Earth's orbital station," General Adams said, extending his hand in greeting. The alien ambassador looked at the offered hand with curiosity before touching it briefly with one of his 4 hands. "The Confederation extends its protection to your young species," Zex Tora said. His voice had an odd musical quality, like several people speaking at once. "We have watched your development with interest." Over the next few days, the aliens toured Earth's major cities and military bases. John accompanied them as security detail. The Galaxians seemed impressed by some human achievements, but often exchanged looks that John recognized as amusement. This reaction was strongest when they visited the Sentinel Armor Development Facility in Nevada. "This is humanity's most advanced defense technology," explained Dr. Lisa Jones, lead engineer. "The M7 Sentinel-powered combat armor increases strength tenfold, contains life support for 30 days, and integrates with our most advanced weapon systems." Dr. Jones signaled to a soldier who stepped forward. The man entered an open frame, and mechanical arms assembled the armor around him piece by piece. Within 2 minutes, he stood encased in the metallic suit, standing a foot taller than before. The soldier demonstrated the armor's capabilities, lifting a 5-ton weight with ease and moving through a quick obstacle course with surprising speed. Ambassador Zex Tora's mandibles clicked rapidly. The translator in John's ear identified this as laughter. "Your species encases itself in metal shells?" the ambassador asked. "How quaint." Dr. Jones frowned. "The Sentinel system offers protection against most weapons and hostile environments." Another Galaxian, introduced as Science Officer Krulvor, stepped forward. "Truly advanced species abandoned physical armor centuries ago. Our neural shields and energy barriers provide superior protection without restricting movement." John noticed the slight look of hurt on Dr. Jones' face. She and her team had spent 15 years developing the Sentinel armor. "Perhaps," General Adams said carefully, "Earth could benefit from sharing such technology as part of our alliance." The ambassador's 4 arms made a complex gesture. "All member species receive appropriate technology when they are ready. The Confederation believes in managed advancement." Later that evening, at the formal dinner in Washington, D.C., the Earth representatives signed the alliance treaty. Despite the Galaxians' obvious belief in their superiority, Earth needed allies. Intelligence reports confirmed that something called the Vex Horde was moving toward human space. "To new friendships," President Garcia said, raising her glass. "To your species' bright future under Confederation guidance," Ambassador Zex Tora replied. John watched from his position along the wall. The aliens were powerful, advanced, and saw humans as primitives. But John had noticed something during the armor demonstration that troubled him. When the Galaxians thought humans weren't looking, they didn't just seem amused. They seemed nervous. Lieutenant Samantha Wells pushed herself harder. Sweat poured down her face inside the Sentinel armor helmet. The weight of the suit had long ago stopped bothering her. After 3 years of training, it felt like a second skin. 15 miles complete, Lieutenant, the suit's AI reported in her ear. Around her, the other members of Fireteam Delta continued their training on the desert course. The Nevada sun beat down on their armored forms. Heat warnings flashed in Samantha's display, but the cooling system kept her body temperature stable. From the observation platform, 3 Calaxian military advisors watched. Their tall, slender forms stood perfectly still in the heat. They had been on Earth for 2 months now. In that time, they had shared some technology, but mainly observed human military training. Captain Gregory Martinez, Fireteam Delta's commander, approached the aliens. Unlike his team, he wasn't wearing armor today. He wiped sweat from his forehead as he climbed the steps to the platform. "Your warriors train with admirable dedication," said Senior Advisor Krovac. His translator made his musical voice sound flat and mechanical. "But these exoskeletons seem inefficient." Martinez took a drink from his water bottle before responding. "The Sentinel program has been the backbone of Earth's defense strategy for a decade. The Confederation can provide shield technology that weighs nothing," Krovac said. His 4 arms made a gesture that humans had learned meant offering help. "Weight isn't always a bad thing," Martinez replied. He pointed to Samantha as she completed a series of combat moves against a practice drone. The armor responded to her movements perfectly, amplifying her strength. The drone, designed to withstand tremendous force, cracked under her armored fist. "Our armor isn't just protection," Martinez explained. "It's an extension of ourselves. It makes us stronger, faster, and able to fight in any environment." Krovac's mandibles clicked softly. "The Vex will not be impressed by your mechanical muscles, Captain. Their plasma weapons will melt your shells like ice in a star's corona." Martinez frowned but said nothing. The Vex threat grew closer each day. Earth's long-range sensors had detected their massive high ships at the edge of the solar system. According to the Calaxians, even the Confederation feared these enemies. Across the base, in a sealed laboratory, Dr. Elizabeth Carter worked with the small pieces of alien technology the Confederation had shared. The Calaxians had provided energy shield generators, but they were weak compared to what the aliens themselves used. "They're holding back," Elizabeth said to her assistant, Ben. "These shield units couldn't stop a bullet, let alone a plasma blast." Ben nodded as he connected the alien device to a Sentinel armor chest plate. "They don't want us to advance too quickly." Elizabeth's fingers flew over her keyboard. Well, they didn't count on human ingenuity. On her screen, she had redesigned the alien shield technology to work with the Sentinel armor's power systems. By her calculations, the combined technology would be twice as effective as either system alone. "If we layer the shield over the armor instead of replacing it," she said, "we get the best of both worlds." Back on the training field, Samantha completed her exercises. Her armor opened, letting the desert air hit her sweat-soaked face. She smiled at her teammates, who were also finishing their training. "The aliens still think we're playing dress-up," said Sergeant Frank Rodriguez, removing his helmet. "Let them laugh." Samantha looked toward the observation platform, where Martinez was still talking with the Calaxians. "They've never had to fight like we do," she said. "Humans have been battling each other in our environment since we first stood upright. Our armor reflects thousands of years of warfare experience." Rodriguez nodded. "And something tells me we'll need every bit of that experience soon." In space, beyond Neptune's orbit, sensors detected movement. The Vex had arrived earlier than expected. The first battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. The emergency alarm blared through Earth's military headquarters. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Admiral William Clark rushed into the command center. His face was grim as he looked at the main screen. "Report," he ordered. "Sir, the Vex ship appeared near Neptune 30 minutes ago," said the sensor officer. "It destroyed the Confederation outpost there before we could even send a warning." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Where are our Calaxian allies?" Their main fleet is moving to engage, Admiral, but they're requesting our assistance. Admiral Clark almost smiled. After months of being treated like children, the aliens finally needed human help. He pressed a button on his command console. This is Admiral Clark. All Sentinel teams report to launch bays immediately. This is not a drill. In the barracks, Samantha Wells was already pulling on her armor undersuit when the alarm sounded. She and Fireteam Delta had been on standby alert for the past week. They knew this moment would come. Time to show our alien friends what these metal shells can do, Rodriguez said as he prepared his armor systems. Captain Martinez entered the room. Delta Team, listen up. The situation is worse than expected. The Vex ship is 3 times the size the Confederation predicted. Their standard tactics aren't working. He activated a holographic display showing the massive Vex vessel. It looked like a giant insect with multiple extending sections that pulsed with eerie green light. The Confederation's energy shields are failing against sustained Vex attacks, Martinez continued. Their neural weapon systems are being disrupted by some kind of countermeasure. Samantha finished sealing her armor. What's our mission, Captain? Martinez's face was serious. We're going to board that ship. The room went silent. Board it? Rodriguez asked. Has any species ever successfully boarded a Vex high ship? No, Martinez said simply. But Admiral Clark believes our Sentinel armor gives us a unique advantage. The Vex ship's interior is reportedly toxic to most life forms. The environment includes radiation, extreme temperatures, and atmospheric pressure that would crush unprotected bodies. He looked at each member of his team. Our armor can handle all of that. An hour later, Samantha sat strapped in the military dropship as it accelerated toward the battle. Through the viewport, she could see the Confederation's elegant ships firing energy weapons at the Vex vessel. Many of the alien ships were damaged, their once perfect forms now broken and burning. The Calaxian commander, General Zertak, appeared on the dropship's communication screen. His mandibles were tight against his face, a sign of stress. This attack plan is foolish, the alien said. No boarding party has ever survived contact with a Vex high ship. Admiral Clark appeared on a split screen. With respect, General, you've never sent humans in Sentinel armor before. The Calaxian's large eyes blinked rapidly. Your primitive technology is designed to operate in exactly these conditions, Clark interrupted. While your warriors fight with elegant shields and neural links, humans have been developing systems to survive the worst environments imaginable. The dropship shook violently as it approached the battle zone. Vex fighter craft swarmed around them, their organic-looking forms moving with impossible speed. Evasive maneuvers, shouted the pilot. Samantha checked her weapon systems. The assault rifle built into her armor's right arm was fully charged. The missile launchers on her shoulders were loaded. Every member of Delta Team was similarly armed. The dropship rocked again, harder this time. Warning lights flashed. Direct hit on Engine 2. The pilot called out. We're losing stability. Captain Martinez stood up, his armor locking onto the deck magnetically to keep him stable. Prepare for emergency approach. We only need to get close enough for a controlled entry. Another hit rocked the ship. Samantha's restraints snapped, throwing her against the bulkhead. Her helmet absorbed most of the impact, but darkness still filled her vision as consciousness slipped away. The last thing she heard was the ship's eye announcing, "Hull breach imminent. Prepare for decompression." Sergeant Frank Rodriguez acted without thinking. As warning lights flashed and the ship's AI announced the coming hull breach, he saw Samantha floating unconscious, her restraints broken. The rest of the team was secured, but she would be sucked into space when the hull failed. Lock armor, he shouted to his suit's AI. Instantly, his Sentinel armor became rigid. The joints froze in place as emergency protocols activated. Rodriguez grabbed Samantha with one arm and used his other hand to anchor himself to the ship's floor. His magnetic boots engaged automatically. Breach in 5 seconds, the ship's AI warned. Everyone, Helmets sealed, Captain Martinez ordered. The hull tore open with a screaming sound of metal. The air inside the dropship rushed toward space, pulling everything not secured. Rodriguez's armor held firm, his feet locked to the floor. He clutched Samantha's armored form against his chest, protecting her from the pull of the vacuum. On the Calaxian escort ship monitoring the human dropship, Commander Vrilax watched in shock. "The hull has ruptured," reported a Calaxian sensor officer. "The humans will be dead." "Continue scanning," Vrilax ordered. The officer adjusted the sensors. After a moment, his mandibles clicked in surprise. "Commander, I'm still detecting life signs. The humans, they're still alive. In vacuum, without shields." Vrilax moved closer to the screen, his forearms twitching with disbelief. "Impossible." Inside the damaged dropship, Martinez assessed the situation quickly. His helmet display showed his team's status. Everyone was alive, though Samantha's vital signs were weak. "Pilot, can we still reach the Vex ship?" Martinez asked. The pilot, also in Sentinel armor, worked the controls with armored fingers. "Barely, sir. We have enough thrust for one approach." "Do it," Martinez ordered. He moved to Rodriguez and Samantha. "How is she?" "Unconscious but stable," Rodriguez replied. "The suit's medical system is keeping her going." Martinez nodded. "We continue the mission." The damaged dropship limped toward the massive Vex vessel. Around them, the space battle raged. Confederation ships fired energy weapons that seemed to do little damage to the Vex. The elegant alien vessels were being destroyed one by one. General Zertak's voice came through the comm system. "Human ship, your approach is suicidal. Retreat immediately." "Negative, General," Martinez replied. "We're proceeding with the mission." A moment of silence followed. "Your courage is noted, human. But courage alone will not penetrate Vex defenses." The dropship shuddered as it approached the outer layer of the Vex ship. The massive vessel looked like it was made of some combination of metal and living tissue. Sections pulsed with green light, while others seemed to move like breathing lungs. "Target acquired," the pilot said. "Firing boarding charges." Specially designed explosive devices shot from the dropship and attached to the Vex hull. They detonated in sequence, creating a hole large enough for the humans to enter. "Bring us in close," Martinez ordered. "Team, prepare for Zerog insertion." Samantha's eyes opened slowly. Her helmet display was flashing with warnings. She felt disoriented, but the suit was already injecting stimulants to clear her head. "What happened?" she asked. "Hull breach," Rodriguez told her. "You were knocked out. We're about to board the Vex ship." Samantha checked her weapon systems. Everything was operational. "I'm ready." The dropship positioned itself near the breach in the Vex hull. One by one, the Sentinel armored soldiers pushed off from the ship and used short bursts from their maneuvering thrusters to guide themselves toward the opening. As they entered the Vex vessel, their helmet sensors immediately began reporting hostile conditions. The atmosphere inside was highly acidic. Radiation levels were lethal to unprotected life. Gravity shifted unpredictably. All conditions within Sentinel operational parameters, Martinez noted with satisfaction. "Delta Team, form up. We're looking for the central nervous system of this ship." From the Confederation command vessel, Ambassador Zext, Tora watched the helmet camera feeds from the human team with growing amazement. "They're inside," he said quietly. "These humans and their primitive armor have gone further than any Confederation force ever has." Behind him, the Calaxian military advisors exchanged troubled looks. They had been wrong about humanity's technology, and they were beginning to worry about what else they might have misjudged. The inside of the Vex HFY ship was like nothing the humans had ever seen. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with strange light. The floor shifted under their feet. Sometimes gravity changed suddenly, making them float for a few seconds before pulling them down again. "Stay close," Captain Martinez ordered. "Rodriguez, take point. Wells, Watch our backs. Samantha's head still hurt from her injury, but the suit's medical system kept her alert. She moved to the rear position, her weapon ready. Her helmet display showed the team's vital signs. Everyone was stressed but stable. They moved through a series of chambers that looked like a mix of machinery and living tissue. The air was thick with gases that would kill an unprotected human in seconds. The temperature changed from freezing to burning hot without warning. Sentinel cooling systems at maximum, Rodriguez reported as they passed through an area where the walls glowed red with heat. Confederation Command, are you receiving our feed? Martins asked through the comm system. Ambassador Zex Torres' voice came through with some static. We are receiving, Captain. Your progress is unexpected. On the Confederation command ship, Zex Torres and a group of Calaxian military leaders watched the video feed from the humans' helmet cameras. The aliens were silent, their earlier mockery forgotten. No Confederation team has ever survived these conditions, General Zertak said quietly. The humans' armor is more effective than we believed. Zex Torres nodded slowly. The question remains, can they reach the central nervous system and place their explosive device? Back inside the high ship, Delta Team reached a large chamber. The ceiling rose so high it disappeared into darkness. Strange organic columns stretched from floor to ceiling. In the center was a pool of glowing green liquid. Movement, Samantha warned, her sensors picking up heat signatures. From behind the columns emerged 3 Vex warriors. They were massive creatures, 3 times the size of a human. Their bodies were covered with natural armor that looked like a combination of shell and metal. They had multiple limbs ending in sharp, blade-like appendages. Weapons hot, Martins ordered. The team spread out, taking cover behind the columns. The Vex warriors moved with surprising speed for their size. One of them charged directly at Samantha. She held her ground, raising her weapon. The Sentinel armor's targeting system locked onto the approaching enemy. She fired a burst from her rifle. The high-powered rounds hit the Vex's natural armor, creating cracks but not stopping it. The creature reached her, swinging a razor-sharp limb at her head. Samantha activated her armor's reactive systems. As the blow came down, the servos in her suit whirred to life. She caught the limb with one armored hand. The Vex pushed against her, expecting to overpower the smaller human. Instead, Samantha's feet remained planted, the armor's strength amplification allowing her to match the aliens' force. In the Confederation Command Center, the aliens watched in stunned silence. How is this possible? Zex Torres whispered. The Vex warrior outweighs her by at least 500 units. One of the military analysts leaned forward. It's the armor. It's amplifying her natural strength. On the screen, they watched as Samantha not only held her ground but began to push back. The servos in her armor whined as they applied more force. The Vex warrior's limb began to bend backward. With a sudden movement, Samantha twisted and used the creature's own momentum to throw it off balance. As it stumbled, she brought her weapon up and fired directly into the cracks she had created earlier in its armor. The Vex warrior fell, green fluid leaking from its wounds. Across the chamber, Martins and Rodriguez were similarly engaged with the other Vex. Rodriguez had taken a hit that damaged his armor's shoulder section, but he continued fighting. Martinez used his suit's jump capability to leap over a Vex attack, landing behind the creature and targeting a vulnerable spot. Within minutes, all 3 Vex warriors lay defeated. The team regrouped, checking their armor and weapons. Damage report, Martinez ordered. Minor damage to left shoulder servos, Rodriguez reported. Still operational. All systems functional, Samantha added, though her armor showed stress fractures from the Vex's powerful blow. Martinez nodded. We need to keep moving. According to the ship schematics the Confederation provided, the central nervous system should be 2 levels down. As they moved toward an organic-looking doorway, Samantha noticed something on her sensor display. Captain, I'm picking up more heat signatures. Lots of them. coming from all directions. Martinez's voice was steady as he responded. "They know we're here now, and they know we're dangerous." Delta Team moved quickly through the Vex high ship. They found a passage leading downward, toward the central nervous system of the massive vessel. The walls here pulsed with brighter light, suggesting they were getting closer to something important. "2 more levels," Martin said, checking the map on his display. "The antimatter charge needs to be placed at the core to destroy this thing." Behind them, sensor readings showed dozens of Vex life forms moving in pursuit. The team had little time. They reached a large chamber with multiple exits. Strange organic machinery filled the space. At the center was a platform hovering over a deep pit that glowed with the same green energy they had seen throughout the ship. "That platform must lead to the lower level," Samantha said. As they approached, plasma beams suddenly cut through the air. The team scattered, taking cover behind the machinery. 6 Vex, high positions. Rodriguez called out, his helmet sensors pinpointing the attackers. The plasma beams were unlike anything Earth had faced before. Where they hit, they burned through matter almost instantly. A beam grazed the shoulder of Private Ryan Oakes, the youngest member of Delta Team. His armor's outer layer instantly melted away. Armor integrity at 70%, his suit's AI reported. On the Confederation command ship, the aliens watched in grim silence. "The human's armor is compromised," said Krovac. "He will retreat now." But Oakes did not retreat. Instead, he calculated the angle of the incoming fire and moved suddenly from his position. He sprinted directly toward the Vex attacker, plasma beams burning the air around him. "What is he doing?" gasped a Calaxian observer. "He's running straight at the enemy." The Vex warrior, positioned on a high ledge, continued firing. Another beam hit Oakes, burning through more of his armor. "Armor integrity at 50%, warned his suit. The young soldier kept running. When he reached the wall beneath the Vex, he activated his suit's jump boosters. The powerful mechanisms in his legs launched him upward, straight at the surprised alien. Armor integrity at 30%. The AI warned as another blast hit him mid-jump. The Vex had no time to react as Oakes crashed into it. His right arm's servo systems were damaged, but he used the rigid limb like a battering ram, driving it through the Vex's natural armor. Across the chamber, the rest of Delta Team engaged the other Vex attackers. Martinez coordinated their movements with precision. Despite being outnumbered, the humans fought with surprising effectiveness. Samantha targeted a Vex on a high platform. Her armor enhanced her aim, compensating for the strange gravity fluctuations in the chamber. She fired 3 perfect shots, dropping the alien before it could react. Rodriguez moved like a dancer despite his heavy armor, using the suit's systems to enhance his natural agility. He flanked 2 Vex warriors, placing himself between them. When they fired, they hit each other instead of him. Oakes continued fighting even as his armor failed piece by piece. His helmet display flashed with warnings, but he ignored them. When his left leg hydraulics failed, he locked the joints and used the momentum of his armor to keep moving forward. On the Confederation ship, the aliens watched in amazement. "Their armor is falling apart," said one observer, "yet they fight more effectively, not less." Zex Tora leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the display. "They are not fighting despite their armor's damage. They are fighting with it, using even the broken pieces as weapons." The battle in the chamber lasted only minutes. When it ended, all 6 Vex warriors were dead. Delta Team regrouped at the central platform. "Oakes' status?" Martinez asked. The young soldier stood with difficulty, his armor scorched and partially melted. "Armor at 22%, sir, but I can continue." Martinez nodded. "You did well, soldier." He turned to the rest of the team. "The platform should take us down to the next level. 1 more to go after that." As they stepped onto the platform, it began to descend into the green glow below. Samantha checked her weapon systems and the special compartment where she carried the antimatter charge. "Sir," she said to Martinez, Sensors show hundreds of Vex life signs below us. They know what we're trying to do. Martinez's voice was calm when he replied. Then we'll do what humans have always done when outnumbered. We'll adapt and overcome. The platform descended further, taking them toward the heart of the Vex high ship and the largest concentration of enemies they had yet faced. The platform stopped at the lowest level of the Vex high ship. Delta Team found themselves in a massive chamber. The walls pulsed with green energy. In the center stood a structure that looked like a giant brain, connected to the ship by hundreds of glowing tubes. That's it, Martine said. The central nervous system. Plant the charge there, and this whole ship dies. Samantha checked the antimatter device. Ready for placement, Captain. Before they could move, a loud rumbling sound filled the chamber. From openings in the walls, dozens of Vex warriors poured in. Behind them came smaller drone creatures, flying through the air like insects. They're trying to overwhelm us, Rodriguez said, raising his weapon. Martinez's voice remained calm. Form a circle. Rodriguez and Oaks, create a path to the central structure. Wells, you'll place the charge. I'll cover our rear. Dr. Elizabeth Carter's voice suddenly came through their comm system from Earth. Delta Team, I've been monitoring your armor status. I'm sending emergency updates to your systems. On their helmet displays, new information appeared. Carter had modified their armor settings, optimizing what remained of their power for the final push. Your servo strength has been increased by 40%, she explained. But it will burn out the motors in about 5 minutes. That's all we need. Martins replied. Delta Team, execute. The humans' move is one, their armor systems pushing beyond normal limits. Rodriguez led the charge, his weapon firing controlled bursts that cut down Vex after Vex. Despite the damage to his armor, Oaks kept pace, using his functioning systems to compensate for those that had failed. Samantha followed close behind them, the antimatter charge secure in her armor's storage compartment. Martinez guarded their backs, his movements precise and deadly. On the Confederation command ship, the aliens watched in silence. The humans' coordination was unlike anything they had seen before. Their technology is failing, General Zyrtak observed, yet they fight more effectively. Ambassador Zex, Tora nodded slowly. Perhaps we misunderstood. Their armor is not merely protection. It is an extension of their will. The battle in the chamber grew fiercer. The Vex surrounded Delta Team, their superior numbers beginning to tell. Drone creatures swarmed Oaks, finding the weak points in his damaged armor. As they crawled inside, his vital signs began to fluctuate. Oaks is in trouble, Samantha called out. Rodriguez tried to reach him, but was cut off by 3 warrior Vex. Martinez was similarly engaged, fighting off attackers from behind. Continue the mission, Oaks managed to say through gritted teeth. Get to the target. Samantha hesitated for only a second before pushing forward. She had almost reached the central structure when her path was blocked by the largest Vex they had encountered. It towered over her, its multiple limbs ending in weapons instead of claws. The creature attacked with incredible speed. A blow caught Samantha in the chest, sending her flying backward. Her armor absorbed most of the impact, but warnings flashed on her display. Armor integrity at 45%, her AI reported. Martinez saw Samantha fall. He was surrounded by enemies, with no clear path to help her. In that moment, he made a decision. Initiating last stand protocol, he said clearly. His armor's AI responded immediately. Warning, last stand protocol will cause permanent damage to user and system. Confirm. Confirmed, Martinez said without hesitation. Inside his armor, medical injectors delivered a powerful cocktail of combat stimulants directly into his bloodstream. The suit's safety limiters disengage, rerouting all power to offensive systems. What followed shocked even the Confederation observers. Martinez became a blur of motion and destruction. His armor pushed far beyond its design limitations, enhancing his strength and speed to levels that would kill most humans. He tore through the Vex surrounding him, creating a path to Samantha. Reaching her side, he helped her up, then turned to face the massive Vex leader. "Place the charge," he ordered. "I'll handle this." Samantha moved toward the central structure, while Martinez engaged the Vex leader. Their battle was brief but devastating. When it ended, both Martinez and the Vex lay motionless on the ground. With trembling hands, Samantha attached the antimatter charge to the pulsing brain-like structure. She set the timer for 5 minutes.